This is the brand new 2020 KTM Superduke R, aka the Beast 3.0. And let's understand why this is the only thoroughbred, pure, built from the ground up, super naked. Thank you very much, KTM. Cool. Let's go over some numbers real quick before we get into this. First up, 180 horsepower, 108 foot-pounds of torque, 416 pounds dry, $19,000 as it sits, but that's not all you could spend on this, and tons of attention to detail. I'm gonna talk real fast today. We're gonna learn about this bike in all of its glory, but before we do, check out a little riding footage. Bing! Starting out with the front of the Beast. We got lightweight forged aluminum wheels wrapped in Bridgestone S22 rubber. Amazing tires. They heat up quick. You can do a track day on them. They won't burn through as quick as a Pirelli. Really great idea, KTM. I appreciate that. We got Brembo M50 calipers stopping us in the front, 330 mil floating rotors. Absolutely ideal. This WP fully adjustable suspension works incredibly, gives you amazing front end feel. We got these wide handlebars. The mirrors you can actually see. Awesome idea. Thanks, KTM. Headlight, you either love it or you hate it. I love the bug eye. I think it's awesome, but this is the first time KTM actually put ram air right in between that headlight split. Leads right to the air box behind it. Ideal for cold air riding. Works out amazing. After that, I gotta bring up the suspension. The way they set it up is absolutely awesome. They put on these little rubber things, and you'd be like, Maddie, what's that little rubber thing? Well, on racetracks, what this little thing does is lets you measure how much the front end is traveling. Usually, you use a zip tie, clip it off. If you actually take your suspension off, what a lot of guys do, including me, is I use my wife's hair tie and I put that on just to measure my suspension travel, see if I need more preload or if I'm banging this whole thing out, the compression ratio, see where, if you're living in the sweet spot where the compression is the best. As you can see, after I rode it, I didn't ride that hard. I never bottomed it out, which means that the suspension is perfect for riding on the road. Absolutely ideal. I'm right in its golden spot for traveling, which is right about here. So if the fork is pushing down this much, I'm living in the happy zone. After that, we got this TFT dash that, in all seriousness, looks like a little bit of an afterthought. They were like, oh man, we better put this on here. Definitely needs a windscreen. Moving forward, up top, you have customizable, pre-programmed riding preferences. So I know on the Generation 1, Beast 1.0, every time you shut the bike off, turned off all the things that you wanted, you had it set up. So your TC, your ABS, any other riding mode was shut off, back to basic. Level number 2, the Beast right before this, the 17 through 19 model, got rid of that, but wasn't as reliable. See, wasn't as adjustable. This, you can change the preferences. You can set up for a track ride. You can set up for riding with a passenger. You can set it up for riding all by yourself in hoodlum mode. Take the TC all the way off, turn off the wheelie control, turn off the ABS, have straight up hooligan mode. Amazing. After that, actual aero. Originally, these giant flared out fenders were just to look cool. Now, KTM made them fit tight, have a little bit steeper rake to them, and it actually provides a little bit of downforce while you're rocking. Absolutely unparalleled. Let's move to the middle. On to the middle and the meat of this bike. I want to start out with the frame. Now, this motorcycle, even though it looks very similar to the years past, is 90% new. Most of the stuff on this machine, brand new redesign, starting with this frame. The engine is actually a stress member, which has its pros and cons. We'll start with the pro. Takes weight away. The less frame you have, the lighter the machine, the higher up the engine is mounted, so the easier it is to tip in side to side. Little top heavy is fun on the street. You know, that's how we roll. After that, adjustable rear sets. You can actually put these higher or lower depending on your comfort level, how you're feeling about riding. I think the way they are stock is actually pretty great. It's a soft knee bend, lets you have a great control over the machine. A suede seat. One, very, very comfortable. Two, looks amazing. I gotta appreciate KTM's attention to detail. This bike is full of little bits here and there that are really awesome. New and beautiful bodywork. It fits real tight to the frame and the airbox inside. Your fuel cell is nice and compact. It all looks perfect, and I love this big plastic piece. Go get it customized, write your name on it, anything. It's just one piece, pops right on and off. After that, you can easily switch to GP shift. We'll get a close-up of that. You can get one little bolt, will switch the gear shift from high to low and switch you right to GP shift. Every bike should have that little screw built into it. After that, this adjustable rear shock knob. You want to put in a little bit more compression, make the bike a little bit tighter if you already have a passenger sitting on the back. It's right here, super accessible, easy to reach and work. You actually get new swing arm linkage. We'll get a close up of that too. The three little bolts right there make the rear fit perform just like a super bike. Even though it's a super naked, you have super bike parts coming on this brand new 2020. Makes the ride real smooth, makes the back squat just the way you think it should. Actually makes wheeling a little bit harder if you can call wheeling a 180 horsepower bike with a V-twin, 100 foot-pounds of torque hard. But I guess minutely more difficult. And this engine right here in the middle, again, 90% new parts. It's lighter, it's more efficient. You have more power available to you more often. You have 108 foot-pounds of torque, but it's available to you at 5,000 RPMs. You don't have to over-rev this machine to get the full force and feel of that power. Now, the 180 horsepower is not available to a little bit higher in the rev range, but it's the torque we want anyway. That feel, that kick, happens right away, and boy, let me tell you, takes your breath away, spooks you a little bit every time, but that's why we love the Superduke, the Super Hooligan. Moving along, it is the same idea as the last bike, but it is way, way, way smoother and more refined. This engine gives you the power. Yes, it kicks you in the butt, but it doesn't do it unpredictably. Thank you, KTM. Moving on to some booty. Couple parts of the rear end of this motorcycle. One looks amazing. Let's see why. First up, you get this exhaust can from KTM just as you see it. This is stock off the showroom floor. Sounds amazing. We'll turn it on at the end of the video, but it's labeled Superduke R. Amazing. Yes, they make a full Acra system for it, which if you're gonna do the exhaust on this bike, you're gonna have to spend some money. This is a dual cat exhaust. It runs like intestines through the middle of this machine, which is really cool, but a lot of thought went into it. Actually, the way these cylinders are set up, one's in front of the other, and the front one is 53 mils at the head, the other one is 62 mils at the head, which means more air comes out of the back because it has to travel further. Just like your small intestines, the air has a long way to go. So when the air meets in the collector boxes in front of the cat and shoots out the back, the pressure is exactly the same. So fair warning to anybody buying aftermarket exhausts, spend the money, get the Acra, do the right thing. But if you don't want to, I'm telling you right now, you don't have to. The thing is awesome the way it is. Moving along, single-sided swing arm. Like we said, lightweight forged aluminum wheels with Bridgestone rubber. Sick combo, works every time. The rear brake is actually insane. Will stop you real quick, which is really nice, especially to have that control when maybe one of the wheels isn't touching the ground. After that, you'll notice that KTM switched from the trellis frame to this one-piece thing. And you'd be like, Matty, Trellis is so cool. Why would they do that? Well, this monocoque frame is actually lighter and stronger. It's a real tight finish, looks really, really cool, except for this thing. We get it. You gotta have your license plate further than the back wheel, but we all hate it. We're all gonna take it off. There really is 4 bolts underneath the seat. Easiest thing to take off and get rid of. Slap your plate right on it, use your hand signals, you'll be fine. The bravest passengers only can sit on the back. It is a suede seat. It is really comfortable. The reach of the pegs isn't so bad, but boy, if you know someone who owns this and they're offering you a ride, they're gonna scare you. Fair warning, all my passengers out there, if your boyfriend, your husband, your mom, anybody who's got this bike offers to take you for a ride, take them up on it, but be prepared to be spooked. That's all I'm saying about that. And last but not least, this does have a 6-axis computer system, IMU, okay? The brain inside this bike is awesome. What KTM did one step further was put on, it's called a pivot monitor. A pivot sensor, rather. So a pivot sensor tells you when the back end does this. Why would it do that, Maddie? What's going on? Well, when you're doing a rolling burnout and all of your weight's up on front of the bike and the back wheel wants to skip around, it'll actually retard the throttle and set you back up straight so you don't fall over and it doesn't high side you. Thanks, KTM. Looks like you thought of everything. Let's do some riding impressions. A big thank you to my sponsors, Gold Coast Motorsports in New Hyde Park here on Long Island. Thank you for letting me borrow this 2020 KTM. You guys are rock stars. And as soon as this whole Rona business is over, I want everybody who watches me to give them a call, shoot them an email, or pop in to check out this Superduke. Now, my favorite and yours, riding impressions. This thing is a blast. Boy, first up, everything is noticeably high up. Your center of gravity is real high, making the tip-in super fun. It falls over, gives you a ton of confidence in corners. I found myself kind of leaning the bike, turning way faster than I should have. This thing is like a scalpel. Really, really fun, really unexpected for a Super Naked, which brings me to that point. It says Super Naked, it is a Super Naked, but boy, this feels like the ultimate super bike. You're in this cocked forward, real aggressive riding position. Looks just like this. Yeah, rocking. This thing makes you feel awesome. You're hunched over, you're feeling aggressive, and the engine, the way it responds to your throttle hand is sick. It just makes you feel cool. You just feel awesome. Super get up and go. After that, the gears are real short, particularly 1, 2, and 3. Boop, 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 happens real quick. Everything happens just as you expect it to, but you run out of gear, the RPMs fly up super fast for a V-twin. Kudos to you, KTM, you built a sick engine this time, and nothing but power. And now that's with an AH at the end, not a W. This thing is super torquey, super powerful. You feel it. The second you get on it, you feel it. You feel the front end get a little bit light. Thank you to that TC and wheelie control for keeping the front end down. It floats it just the right amount so you feel cool. And after that, doesn't scare you. Thank you, because I'm a little delicate. Super compact, super tight. The front end does feel meaty, but the rest of the bike is exactly where you think it's supposed to be, and it makes you feel cool. You get nothing but thumbs ups, looks. It sounds different than it looks. It handles different than it looks. This is a thoroughbred through and through with lots of premium parts throughout. Definitely worth that $19,000 money mark. Gotta love it. But it ain't perfect. Let's go on to the cons. Now the cons. No machine is perfect. And of course, anything with a KTM badge is gonna be a little bit finicky. You gotta love KTM, Austrian company. They do all their own stuff. They build their own engines, they build their own frames, they build their own suspension, and they do their own electronics. Now, while this one is the best iteration yet, it's still super buggy, I am gonna say. When you get this bike, it's not complete, which is kind of a con. All the pieces are there, but they're not turned on. You gotta spend that extra money to get the track version turned on. You gotta spend the extra money to get the quick shifter and auto blipper turned on. You gotta spend that extra money to get the heated grips and heated seat turned on. And if you go to turn it on and it's not engaged, you get these awful flash warnings that it's a failure the whole time. Super frustrating, super annoying, super distracting while you're supposed to be watching where you're going and the screen is flashing at you. KTM, keep working. Maybe version 4.0 will be perfect. You made a great bike, but the electronics still need a little bit of attention. After that, the engine as a stress member. Yes, it saved weight, but don't you dare crash it, because it's gonna fall apart, okay? You better have insurance if you got this bike, because you're gonna do something you're not supposed to, whether it be wheeling it or speeding, and it can't take a crash anymore, all right? The last couple versions were more robust. Now, obviously I haven't crashed this and I have no intention of it, okay? But all my owners out there, you might drop it and it's gonna be totaled right then and there. Just what it is. After that, the buttons on the handlebar are a little bit tricky to work. It's not as intuitive as, say, a BMW system. It's a little tricky. It doesn't work all the time. You got to hit the buttons a few times to get it to work. And even on this particular bike, when I was out, the blinkers weren't plugged in. I don't know why. Just sometimes, I guess, KTM forgets to plug the blinkers in. That's cool, you know, whatever. And also the dual cat system. So if you are gonna switch out the exhaust, you have a lot of hollowing out to do, even if you just wanna swap out the can. You got two little cats instead of one big one. So to just do a cat delete on this, it's really obnoxious, all right? Other than that, the bike is amazing. It's premium, it's top shelf. I highly, highly recommend you pick one up, at least take one for a test ride, because boy, this will change your life. Folks, Matty Motorcycle here. Thank you to Gold Coast Motorsports. I'm super excited to be reviewing this 2020 model of machines. Look for more coming. Like, subscribe, share this video, leave me a comment. Let's talk about all the super nakeds. See you soon.
Let's unleash the beast. Okay.